If you guys want right now, I can give you a very basic breakdown on everything that I did when I started to get better as quickly as I could, and stuff that I wish I did better, that I think other people could do better than me and get better faster than I did. If people need something like that, I'm more than happy to provide it. It won't be super structured right now, but I can give something superficial now and then try to make like an actual video on it. So if you want me to break down like learning this game from my perspective, obviously everyone's perspectives are going to be different. So let me preface this first by saying that, again, you need to have structure to your improvement. When you play the game, have something that you want to work on. You don't want to just mindlessly play for hours and hours and hours. And not to make fun of him or like to call him out, but I do think like Bobby is a good example of someone who puts in an extraordinary amount of work, but doesn't necessarily put in very efficient work and could use his time significantly better. The catch is Bobby's trying to make content. And so for him, it's different. It makes sense what he's doing because for him, I think he's genuinely trying to like get like clips and be like hype on stream and do like cool shit. And so for him, it's different. Go into a session, even if you're just training. What are you going to work on today, right? So the first thing that I talk about with every character, and you hear me say this when someone does the tier 3 session with me, if they don't have good movement, I literally tell them, don't play me until you have movement because I can't even give you advice. The first thing you should be interested in doing is learning how to control your character. So that means you want to learn how to do your basic combos. So for me, like let's say I'm playing Fox, and I can give you examples with other characters to make it easier. Fox, I need to know how to dash dance with him. I need to know how to dash dance at different lengths and different timings because his dash dance is very important, right? Obviously, I want to know how to wave dash. Most situations, wave dash, wave land, whatever. Very basic stuff that I know I'm going to need for movement. I need to know my basic conversion. So for Fox, it's not super basic in the sense of like it's easy to learn, but you're going to have to learn how to wave shine, right? You're going to want to learn how to do a wave shine. You're going to want to learn how to do a ledge dash. And you're going to want to make sure that you get all these skills just relatively down at a basic level, right? You're going to want to practice short hop aerials, right? So you want to be able to short hop aerial. You want to be able to short hop fast roll. So this is a non-fast roll aerial. This is a fast roll aerial. You're going to want to know how to do all of this stuff. You want to practice doing it with different aerials, different timings. And you just want to basically get a feel for how your character moves. Different drifts, like obviously when you jump, you have a certain degree of aerial drift. So you just want to practice moving around, right? See where you can position your character. Maybe like start from the same position and try doing back airs and landing at like different spots. So like I want to try to land as far back as I can. Now I want to try to land at half that distance. Now I want to land forward, right? Just try to get a basic feel for how your character moves on the ground and in the air. One of the really good ways that you can do that, I actually think this is probably the most underrated improvement thing ever, is just by doing exercise. If you go into Uncle Punch and you do exercise, you can just practice moving around and hitting eggs. And you have to use your strong aerials, right? And this is actually really, really good because in order to get a higher score, you have to be able to move faster, get your moves out faster. You have to be able to get to the back eggs faster, right? And so this is actually a very good tool to use to get better, or especially early on. If you can't move your character, you're not going to be able to hit your punishes. You're not going to be able to move in neutral. You're not going to be able to actually like play anything meaningful because you're not going to be able to execute. The most important thing isn't punish game or neutral game. It's literally execution. If you can't execute, you can't play the game. Learn the basics first. You want to learn the basics and you build the foundation first. The way punish game works is, to me, you learn all of these individual trees, right? Like I now know how to wave shine, grab mark, right? And then eventually I'll practice drill shining it, right? And eventually it comes together to be drill, wave shine, grab. It all starts to come together. And at least the way Fox's combos work is you get a lot of these individual trees down, and then you start finding places where you can link all of them. And then eventually you learn to drill up tilt, right? And then you're like, oh, that also connects to up air instead of grab. And sometimes I like that better because I don't have to deal with turnaround grab. Whatever the reason is. The next part in your movement, like with Punish Game, is learning to put together different parts of your movement. So right now, you can ledge dash, right? But the thing is, you're not going to ledge dash and do nothing in game, right? And so once you get good at ledge dash, you're going to want to practice ledge dash and air. You're going to want to practice ledge dash shine. You're going to want to practice ledge dash turn around up tilt, right? You're going to want to practice ledge dash dash back. You want to practice all these things in context because you want to know how to combine the muscle memories. Similarly, like I talked about with the wave shines, right? Once you get those down, you can start doing other things off of them, and you can start trying to put pieces together. You can put your movement together. Eventually, you can start doing things. You can start improvising because you have good basic muscle memory. A general rule of thumb, if you see a top player consistently using something, it's probably worth it to learn, right? If they're consistently doing an option, you should learn how to do that well. And what I mean by learn how to do that well is there's a bunch of codes in Uncle Punch, right? Act out of lag. How fast are you acting out of your lag? Are you actually acting immediately? Act out of jump. Act out of hit stun. These are codes you should be using. I won't go into what all of them mean right now. Basically, it'll tell you, okay, I drilled. So let's say I drill and I wait a little bit. I acted out on frame 10 of the drill. That's bad. I don't want to act out on frame 10 of the drill unless it's intentional. I want to get frame 1. So I got frame 3 there, so I want to go a little closer. Now I'm down to frame 1. You want to try to practice getting stuff on frame 1 over and over and over again. Doesn't need to be frame 1 every time, but you want to get it as close as possible. The better your movement is, the better your neutral is going to be indirectly. That's just a necessary fact of the game. So, okay, you've learned a bunch of basic stuff. You have a basic understanding of how to move the character. You've had basic combos. You've practiced computers. Maybe you play with your friend who's also learning. The next thing you should probably do, and again, you can change the order of this however you want. With the exception of I think movement always comes first, is learning basic interactions between you and another character. And what I mean by that is every character has like very unique properties, right? Characters have places that they're weak and characters have places that they're strong. The best thing to do is learn don't have to go crazy. Generally, where a character's weak, where a character's strong, and what tools does your character have to actually challenge those options consistently? Where can you challenge the character when they're strong? How can you take advantage of the character where they're weak? That's a very vague statement and it seems very loaded. Luckily, there's a lot of free content on YouTube. Fiction has tons of lessons. I have tons of lessons. Drug Thoughts has tons of lessons. There's so many things that resources you use to improve on almost every single character. So you want to learn, you basically want to have a very rudimentary game plan for each matchup. Again, you're not going to go crazy specific because you're not there yet, but you want to have a rudimentary plan for matchups so you know like, okay, generally this is good against this character. Generally this is bad against this character. Sometimes you're going to lose because someone just counters what you're doing, but that's part of the learning process. You have to learn a lot of information in this game to get consistent. And so again, you want to learn the stuff that's going to give you the biggest boost the quickest. The biggest boost is generally take advantage of characters where they're weak, try to disengage or play around them where they're strong, right? And if something doesn't work in your game plan, you can go back and you can try to evaluate. Okay, why didn't it work? Why did it work? Go back, watch the VOD back. You might think you don't know what to look for, but you'd be surprised. You go back and you watch the VOD, you can at least see where you're losing consistently. And at the very least, you can try out new stuff, or you can say, okay, well, maybe I don't like this position. I'm just going to ignore it for now. Or maybe I'm just going to try to avoid it and play a way that doesn't put me in that position as much. Hard to do early on, but there's so many examples of how to do this on YouTube that I think that if you take a little bit of time just to try to find it, you will find it. Again, if you're stuck, come into stream and ask me. I'm more than happy to help, right? So you now have a basic plan for each character. Know how to control your character. You presumably have some form of a punish game. To me, the easiest way to improve from there is by getting your punish game to be like top level. And I have a video on this already, so I'm not going to go too far into it. Go watch a YouTube video if you want. I'm going to take a string, any string that I find. So let's just look up Avademy, right? This is how I analyze punish game. It's how Armada analyzed punish game, and it's obviously worked for both of us very well. So I'm going to try to find a nice like 3 to 4 hit string here. Okay, so right here, perfect, right? So I'd go back and I'd watch this combo, right? So the combo starts. And right here, the combo ends, right? He's on ledge. Anything I do from this point is just me following up on disadvantage state. The first thing I'm going to ask myself is, could I have extended this combo any further than I did? The problem is it's kind of tricky for me here, right? Because I did this back here preemptively to try to cover side B, and then he went up. Maybe I could have like drifted the back here out a little bit more, but I feel like he did a pretty good job of choosing a good angle. This looks like a true like RPS situation to me, right? Maybe I could have stayed on stage and reacted to side B instead of just trying to read it. So someone in chat said waveland to grab ledge. Maybe in this specific situation. I want to try to find something that's going to work independent of me having to read. What could I have done differently that would have worked no matter what? If I can't find anything, then I'll think about that, right? But maybe I shouldn't have preemptively done the back air, and I could have done an up tilt down there, gotten ready to up tilt the side beam, and then I would have had time to back air this preemptive. Oh, the next thing I would have done, chat, I go to the second to last hit. So I do this shine back air, right? And the next question I'm going to ask is, could I have done something instead of this shine back air that would have gotten me a better situation going forward? And I think pretty obviously the answer is yes. I think forward air into up tilt would have been really nice. If he holds out, then I have a chance to shine him. And it seems like he's going to be lower down. Obviously, the higher up a space he can recover, the easier it is for them to try to edge guard. So I think forward air here is probably actually a way better answer. So in my opinion, I messed up the combo not at the end, but I messed up here because I could have fared instead of shine back aired. And that would have set me up for a better combo going forward. And now someone's going to ask, well, how do you decide what's actually best? Generally, if I get a kill, that's all I could ever want. If I get a consistent kill somewhere, that's what I'm looking for, right? That's good to me. If there's a kill in a spot that's consistent and they don't have an answer to it, I can basically stop that string there and be like, okay, we're good to go, right? that's usually not going to be the case, right? There's going to be very few places where there's a guaranteed kill. And so my goal is next to either get myself a shit ton of percent or put him off stage in a really good edge guarding spot. I say in a good edge guarding spot because I can get him off stage with like reverse back air with him. But if I'm not careful, like he might be able to jump before me depending on the percent. And if I'm off stage, we're both off stage, that's a lot scarier than if just he's off stage. I'm sure most of you would agree with that, right? Usually it's kill, followed by either a shit ton of percent and an edge guard, followed by just good stage positioning. If you can't get any of those, force them to the corner. Make it so that you at least get center stage, and so you get to play neutral from an advantage spot as opposed to a disadvantage spot. And eventually what happens is when you're playing a game, you should be paying attention. You should be trying to look for the spots that you can incorporate it and try it, like experiment. See where it works, see where it doesn't. Why does it work? Why didn't it work? See if you can apply it elsewhere. The more you do that and the more you do this, your brain will start to recognize this stuff in game. That's just how the brain works. It's the same way studying works, right? You have to find the way that you study most efficiently because obviously it's different for everyone. And eventually, when you find the way that works best for you, you'll be able to kind of implement it and you'll find out how you best function implementing games. I can't tell you how to do that because I don't know how your brain works. Experiment, trying it a bunch in games to see where it's good and where it isn't, and try it meaningfully. So like what I mean by that is think about why it worked or why it didn't work. Go back and watch it. Should it have worked? Should it not have worked, right? Never studied in school. Guess what? That's why people struggle here. I didn't study in school either, and let me tell you something. This is very hard for me to learn. I never had to study, and it kind of fucked me over in Melee a little bit for a while. I've had to work really, really hard to develop a work ethic here. I didn't have one. Like, a lot of people call me a grinder and say how hard I work. I didn't have a work ethic before law school. I forced myself to get one. It's not easy. That's easily the hardest part. But you have to develop that work ethic or you can't get there. Like, that's the crux. Most of you don't have a foundation for work ethic. I don't think it's that you're lazy. The other part is have practice partners. If you have practice partners that you can consistently talk about with the game, and you can talk about your sessions and watch over your sessions with, you will improve so much faster than you would by yourself. That's just true. Even now, I watch my messages with Zane. So Zane and I played like a baby session last night. After the session, this was our conversation, just so you guys know, right? GG's. Anything you think specifically changed the last 5 games or just warm up, general adaptation, RNG, whatever you want to call back and forth shit. The last 5 games he was really strong in, so I was asking him if he noticed anything. And he said, I think I just messed you up off of more off CC, and that just matters too much. And I told him, okay, so off of your CC, so I wasn't tomahawking. I realized that. All right, so I need to focus on using empty landings and actually drill more because I forgot that was a thing. And he said that's kind of the only thing that he noticed. And he said even if he doesn't get an open up off of, if he's CCing the strong nair, even if he doesn't get an opening, he's not getting blown up. And so it's way better for him overall because he's not getting hit as hard as much as he was before. And so I said, okay, and yeah, you get way less blown up. All right, so I need to focus on getting more meaningful openings and recognizing when you're actually crouch canceling. He said I was actually holding them for way too long in a bad way, and I was like, I did take note of that, I just forgot what to do. But he said also the nice thing is that shifts the way you want to approach, which is true, because it makes me have to choose a different neutral game plan. You don't need to understand what this is saying, but this is just showing like even now, like I go through back and forth with him. And then afterwards, he starts asking questions. He's like, but do you feel like you have a consistent timing for beating my nair? And I said, as soon as I jump. And I'm like, yeah, I think it's a U timing specifically that I have because I've tried other things on other Mars, like the 2.0. And it just doesn't really doesn't work on them as well. So I'm trying to shift that overall because I think it's only working on you because I have a U timing. And we went back and forth on this a lot, right? So you see how like Zane's one of my practice partners, and afterwards we spend a good amount of time like talking about our sessions, and that's very helpful for both of us because next time we go into play, we have a bunch of stuff we're gonna look at, and it's gonna help us get better significantly more quickly, right? But once you do this, and if you do this efficiently, chat, you will pretty much get to top 100. And realistically, you could do this in a year and a half. Zanery, I literally did it, and I had way less improvement tools than you guys had, and I didn't have any of the content or Slippy that you guys have. And I didn't do it that efficiently. There were a lot of things I could have done better. I wish I did more analysis early on. My mental was terrible. My mental... Chat, you know how bad my mental is now? It's good sometimes, but it's like really bad. It was way worse back when I started. I could have done so many things better to get better fast. You need to get tournament experience early on. However, entering a tournament every day and not practicing is literally not that helpful. Sometimes it can actually be counterproductive. If you learn flowcharts in Punish Game, yes, absolutely. That's literally what I did, Kagnar. Like, I genuinely learned Punish Game flowcharts and movement, and I got to top 100. This was me 7 months into competing in Melee. And look how hard I can hit. And this is back in 2016, when Melee was way worse, okay? This was 7 months into Melee. And already I can get 50% off Marth off of like one opening. And I have like the tech skill to actually just kill him off of it. Sick. You can absolutely do this in a short period of time. Now, my DI was a little bit worse. My DI might have been a little bit worse, all right? And my movement looks fine. Like, I don't look like I don't know what I'm doing. And this is going to be even easier to get to. Like, someone could get to this level in, like, 3 months, honestly, at this point. 4 months. And again, this isn't to gas me up because I fucked up so many things when I was trying to get better. There's so many things I really wish I did so much better than I did now. How do you stop IRL tournament nerves? Complicated question, and it depends on you. The good starting point is to figure out at its core what is causing you to be nervous. Are you insecure about your skill and you're trying to prove yourself? Are you scared of what happens if you lose? Are you trying too hard? Do you want to win too much? Depending on what your answer is, my answer would be very different. I told you I needed to do analysis more often when I came up Cagnar. My mental game was trash, and I really wish I focused on my mental game more when I was starting out. I wish I did more solo practice after my initial burst because I stopped trying to implement new things. I just tried to get good at what I was good at. And I especially wish that I was less scared of like losing like friendly sessions so that I didn't like try to avoid people like in sets. There are so many things I could have done so much better. And I didn't. I tried to protect a ranking when I got ranked, so I stopped going to stuff. I don't try to protect ranking anymore. I genuinely get burnt out now. It's a lot of pressure for me. It's a lot of mental energy for me to compete the way that I know I need to compete to be successful. And I need to, it's like a battery I need to charge. How do you practice mental game? Address your flaws. Again, like I said, when you have issues, they're usually tied to something personal, something that's very personal to you. So you need to try to tackle that and figure out, okay, why am I like this? Why am I freaking out? What is my fear? And how do I go about fixing this?